In this video, I'm going to walk through some search tips for finding resources on organizational communication in Communication and Mass Media Complete. As a reminder, you can get to Communication and Mass Media Complete by clicking on Databases from the library homepage, and then Browse by Subject, and then scroll down and click on Communications and Journalism, and we're going to click on Communication and Mass Media Complete. I've already logged in on this computer, but if you're off campus, it will ask you to log in again before you get to this page, and that just uses your Ohio ID and password. So you had mentioned that you were looking at leadership and influence. So I'm just going to put those two terms into the first search box, and this and between them tells the database to look for both of those terms. So I'll just try that as a really broad search to begin with. And one thing you'll probably notice about the results is that it's not specific to organizational communication, which could happen a lot because it could be a communication concept, it's applied in a different context. So one way you can get that more focused is to do a search for organization, or I actually prefer to do organize up to the Z with a star, shift 8, just because that will give me organization, organizational, organized as a verb. It cuts off that word at the Z and says anything after that, anything up to the Z has to be the same, but anything after that. So it's really good with words that have different endings, so you're not limiting too much. So I'll try that again, and I've got 297 results now, and this took me down to 100. And if you start scrolling through, they look a lot more like organizational communication research. So let's look at an example. Number 2, this one's about leadership in organizational meetings. And, okay, so assuming you wanted to read this article, one thing you definitely want to look for is this PDF full text right here, because this is actually going to open the full text of the article. If you don't see that, I'll look for an example for what happens if you don't have it. Let's go back to the record, detailed record. The record refers to this page right here, where it gives you all the information about the article, including the author, the source, this being the journal that it's from, April 2012, volume 49, page numbers. That's all you would need for the citation for APA. Something that you might want to look at is these subject terms. So I see leadership. I don't see any specific to influence, but what I can do is I can click on this. And it's kind of like a tag, so if you think in Facebook or on Flickr where photos are tagged with someone's name or a topic, this links all of the articles together that are about leadership. And if you look at the top, it just changed the search to say DE, leadership. That's telling the database, search for that area of the record for the word leadership. And of course now I'm getting everything about leadership, but I could add my search terms back again. So influence and organize to the Z, star, try my search again, and now I'm down to 48. So again, it's much more focused, and so depending on your search, it might be useful to look for those subject headings. I did see one earlier, actually it was this article, that had the phrase social influence as a subject, so you could click on this as well, and then add leadership as the second term. This one doesn't have the full text link right here, but it has what we call the Find It button. When you click on that, it should open a new window or a new tab that looks to see if we have a subscription to that journal in another database, because sometimes especially with new things, their subscription is located in another place. So clicking on that will go and do the search for you through the library catalog. I'm waiting for it to load. Okay, it's being a little slow, so I'm going to go back to that while I wait for it to open. Let's go back. Oh, just these tools over here on the right-hand side. Just a note about those. They do offer you a citation tool, and they're getting better. This one actually, look for APA. I think this one actually looks good, except for the thing about the issue number. And my understanding is that you only need the issue number if the journal is paginated by issue, meaning that each each issue of the journal, they start over at page 1, but a lot of journals in communication and other fields, they keep going for each volume. So I think you probably don't need the page number for this one, but you'd have to check on that on the journal homepage. But it's pretty close. You can also export using this function or email. I highly recommend picking some way to keep track of your citations because it just can get overwhelming and you don't want to be worrying about it when you're writing your paper. Alright, that didn't work. Let me try this again and go back to a different source. I'm not sure what's going on there because usually it does work. Let's go back to my result list. I wanted to point out that number 2 is a conference paper from the National Communication Association, and just to be aware of that because it is a different citation style, and their citations in here for conference papers tend to not work very well, so you'll need to figure that out using the APA citation manual, and if you have any questions I can help you with that. Let's try this one. You'll also see this Find It link here. I'm wondering if there's something wrong with this button today. I apologize for that if that's the case, or if it's something about me being off campus. Usually it would open up right away with a new window and a link to the article if we have a subscription. But since it's not working, what I can do is show you what you would do if you had a citation. Say you were reading an article and you were looking at the literature review. Once you identify a good article, a lot of times the literature review will refer you to a lot of great other sources. Here's the state of the literature on leadership or this type of influence. But they won't have links because they'll just be PDFs. So what you can do in that case, or if for some reason the button wasn't working here, what I'm going to do is copy Public Relations Review, and then I'm going to open a button and go back to the library homepage, and I'm going to use the Alice catalog and search for a periodical title. So Alice is usually used to find books, but it also tells you what journals we subscribe to and where they are, which is what that Find It with Link Source button should be doing, but it's not. But if you know how to do this, you can always get to it. So I'm searching for periodical title, Public Relations Review, search, and a lot of times you'll see 2 versions. This one's a paper version, and this one is the electronic version, which you're usually going to want. And I can see that we have the Public Relations Review Journal in the OhioLink Electronic Journal Center from 1978 to the present. So I'm going to click on that link, and this takes me out to where that full text is located. And let's see, it was March 2012, volume 38, issue 1, and I can just scroll down and I see that issue is right here. Sometimes you may have to scroll quite a bit further depending on how old your article is. Okay, and then we should see the full text here. Let's see, it was page 171 about CEO credibility. That's quite a ways down, it looks like. Okay, there we go. So there's the article. And so I have the full text here. I can click on that just like in the other database, and I have the full text article. I do notice that this one is a little short. I guess it does actually as a research article. Sometimes when they're really short like that, they're just reviews or something, but it's just, for whatever reason, this one's very short. But they do have a methodology listed there and results and whatnot. And a bibliography, of course. So that's another one of my recommendations is definitely when you especially start reading about a topic, to read through the literature review closely and look for other sources, because a lot of times you can tell who the main authors are, the main theorists or whatever in that field by reading the first couple literature reviews really closely and then using the reference list to get to those sources. And then you would just follow that path that I just described. Although, of course, if you had any problems getting to anything, you're more than welcome to talk to me or use the Ask a Librarian button on the homepage. Alright, so I'm approaching 10 minutes, and this is very long. So those are my quick suggestions. If this doesn't help or you have more questions, we can talk again to try to figure out, what's the problem or why you're having trouble with your topic. And it happens a lot that the topic is just tricky to search for, especially with things that are they could apply, like leadership could apply in a lot of situations, so sometimes it can be hard to focus in on what you need. So definitely let me know if this helps or if you have any other questions or if you want to talk more later.